it was normal, but at the same time it wasn't normal because, you know, you got the people on the block that when they want something, they just gonna take it, and that's your normal environment. So you got to go get a mentality, but for the wrong reasons. You hear me? So you gonna take what you want. You gonna do whatever you gotta do to get something that you want, and you know, seeing that growing up, it really just kind of shaped you into whatever. If I wanted something, I'm gonna take it. It don't belong to me, but I took it. It was mine. I didn't have the means to get it, so you know, me and my friends, we would just go around and just take whatever we wanted. And if we wanted money and we had no money to do it, we'll take some, then we'll sell it, and then we got money from there. Thievery and drugs. It was just one time, but I was 15. I was there for about a week. Then the judge made me do some community service while I was on probation for like several months to go ahead and finish out whatever he had gave me. It's kind of like a boot camp, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not really a secure facility, but I mean, you can't do whatever you want. You gotta listen to what the people tell you. You gotta go to sleep when they tell you to go to sleep. You eat what they give you, and if you don't eat, you go hungry. But I mean, you was straight. No real negatives because I mean, at the end of the day, I was there for my own mishaps or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, the positives is I took myself out of that environment because, you know, at a young age, you do whatever you see, but when you got somebody to talk to, it really sits you down. You all right. You learn to do right by people and right by yourself. So it made me a better man.
What effects does solitary confinement have on the teens that were held in it?
For me personally, I was a little mad at myself, but I was kind of annoyed. Like again, I had a problem with just listening to people's authority and whatnot. But everybody else, they had different emotions. People used to cry at night because they didn't know what was going to happen. But I mean, you got a whole range of emotions as you just kind of looked at everybody. Some people in there, they don't care. So because the people around you, they gonna tell stories. They be like, yeah, this is my 5th, 6th time here, but I'm still fine. You know, ain't nothing happened to me. Then, you know, you got first time people that really get sent there, they like, okay, well, he was straight, so I'm gonna be straight, so it ain't really no problem. I'm gonna just go back doing whatever I gotta do.
The reform specialist, human trafficking liaison for the Department of Juvenile Justice. So I'm the liaison between the community and the department. My role is to look for services and to make sure that the whole department knows about the services that we connect the youth and the families to. So we provide services from the preventative side all the way to when the kid gets committed to a program and they come out. The judicial process starts with prevention all the way to residential commitment. So prevention, obviously it's self-explanatory. We provide all the services for the youth that are at risk to be in the department. So for example, we do connect them with services in the community and the schools in order for us to know that they're receiving therapy. If there's a youth that has been brought to our attention, then we have the civil citation department, where instead of getting a charge to their record, they do a civil citation, which is just kind of like a warning, and then from there we provide services. So we link them to therapy, we link them to community partnerships, for example, any type of events or sports that they might be interested. And then we go into probation. Some of them do not go to the detention center. Some of them just might come in through our intake unit. So the detention center, once they do go in, the youth gets a detention hearing within 24 hours. So they pretty much go to a detention hearing the next day, and then the detention hearing is just to determine whether or not, you know, they did commit the crime or not. Then they do a process where they go home, whether they go home on home detention or electronic monitoring or any type of supervision by the community. Then they have different types of hearings after that. So they have an arraignment hearing. An arraignment hearing is when they go in front of a judge to determine if they did commit the actual charge that they're being charged with. Once the judge decides whether or not the kid is guilty or not, they go into probation, or they go into any other type of services, for example, diversion, if the judge feels like the kid should be diverted. If they are placed on probation, then they will have a probation officer, and then they will have a bunch of community things that they have to do. These are called sanctions, because prior to that, we do certain assessments. to see where the kid is. So if the kid scores on substance abuse or any type of mental health, that goes into a recommendation to the judge in order to decide what type of services we need to be linking the youth with. We could also go into commitment. Commitment is when they go into a program. So pretty much is the kids that have a lot of different types of referrals, which are charges that are serious, and or if they have violated probation and there is nothing else that we can do in the community to help them out. So we decide to violate them. Once we violate them, this goes to court. This goes in front of a judge again, and they have another hearing. If the youth is determined to be in violation of probation, whether it's with the sanctions or getting new arrest, then we have to staff the case. And a staffing consists of getting all the youth's history. Then the judge decides if the youth is going to a program or not. That's called our commitment piece. When they're in commitment, there's different levels. So the levels vary per the risk of the youth and the charges that they have been charged with. So they can go to a non-secure. They can go there from, let's say, 3 to 9 months. And then it goes higher. So they can go all the way to a maximum program, which they can be up there up to 3 years. And then once they come out, it's our community reentry piece, which is called conditional release, which is pretty much the last step of our department's process. So conditional release means that the youth is coming out into the community, and either they get direct discharge, which means that they're done with that department and they did everything they needed to do in the program, and the program and the probation officer do not feel the need that the youth needs to be on any type of supervision when they're out. But if they do go on conditional release, that means that we monitor them for a couple of more months in the community. If they are communicating with the probation officer, they have to communicate 3 times a month. So the probation officer sees them, makes sure that they're doing okay. They check on school, they check on work, if they're working. And once the department feels that the youth is pretty much has been rehabilitated and is able to be in the community without any supervision, then we request termination from the department. The termination goes to the court. The judge either agrees or disagrees based on all the evidence that we have collected. The most common crimes right now are pretty much petty theft and burglaries. We do have a lot of kids burglarized in either houses or cars. And then petty theft, the thing when they go into any probably department store or any type of 7-Eleven, things like that, and they're taking things from there. So on average, those are our charges that we see the most. Their length of stay is up to 21 days. The youth are staying with a probation officer, let's say 6 months. It's an average of if the youth is doing really well, because we have to have a length of period of time where we're monitoring this and it's consistent. So just because they're doing well 1 month, and they need to complete all the sanctions. So some of them might have just school sanctions and community service, and once they complete the community service, we're ready to be, to terminate them. However, we do keep an eye on all the other stuff, get information from every place we can that's tied to the youth to determine if they're ready to be terminated. So in the detention center, the youth will have a routine of pretty much what they would have at a program per se. So they have their breakfast time, their shower time, their breakfast time. They go into school. Every youth that is in the detention center will have an educational piece. So they all go to school, and they're assessed based on whatever grade they have or whatever they're doing prior to coming into the center. We have all that information. So they do school, then they do recreational pieces. They do have life skills that some of them have workshops to do and things like that. It just varies on the youth and the module that they're in as well. And then they do have therapy. I believe that the main aspect is family and community ties. So if they have a family, they have support from that family, it's so much easier for the youth to complete whatever they need to complete while they are on probation or when they're in a program.